Okay, you're live. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Adam Urone, City of Scottsdale. Today's date is Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. Tonight's meeting is the first meeting of the year for the Neighborhood Advisory Commission. The Neighborhood Advisory Commission advises and makes recommendations to City Council on policies, plans, strategies, and programs for the preservation, improvement, and revitalization of Scottsdale's neighborhoods. Until further notice, the Neighborhood Advisory Commission meetings are being held electronically, and while physical facilities are not open to the public, neighborhood advisory commissions are available on Scottsdale's YouTube channel so as to allow the public to virtually attend and listen and view the meetings in progress. Pertaining to tonight's meeting, first item on tonight's agenda is call to order. Brandon, can we do a call to order? We've got could I ask for acknowledgement of neighborhood advisory commissioners in attendance? We'll start with Commissioner Jonathan Budwig.
Present, thank you.
We have Commissioner William James.
Present.
Thank you. We have a first meeting for her time and seat. Commissioner Louise Lamb.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Carol Moraldi.
Present.
Vice Chair Amanda Nash.
Present.
Thank you. Chair Rachel Putman.
Present. Thank you.
And Commissioner Michael Wells.
Present.
Thank you very much. Chair Putman, I'll put the meeting to you if you'd like to call for the first item on tonight's agenda. I'll also say that city staff in attendance include Dave Bennett of Solid Waste, Adam Urone, myself as commission liaison, as well as Brandon McMahon, associate planner with Scottsdale's Long Range Planning Department. Chair Putman, please.
Great. Thank you, Adam. And Happy New Year, everyone. Just wanted to have a motion. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes from our last meeting taking place in November 17th of 2020? And if so, may I have a motion to go ahead and approve those minutes?
So moved. Commissioner James, so moved.
Thank you. And do I have a second to go ahead and approve the meeting minutes from November 17th, 2020?
Commissioner Wills, I'll second.
Thank you,
Thank you.
for the first and second motion. We'll do a roll call vote at this time. Could I ask for Commissioner Budwig?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner James.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb. Commissioner Lamb.
Commissioner Lamb, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Moraldi.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Nash.
Yes.
We'll do Commissioner Wills
Yes.
and Chair Putman.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Neighborhood Advisory Commission 2020 Annual Report. Adam, if you will, please.
Thank you very much. Chair Putman, members of the commission, this item is an annual item that gets brought before the commission every year as City Council has produced a policy that requires that we report to them on activities of each respective board and commission to which they've appointed. For items related to item 2 on tonight's agenda include confirming receipt of public comments submitted on this agenda item, as well as a discussion and action request by the commission. Next slide, please. There is no public comment that have been received. The annual report was drafted and provided in your agenda packet. Next slide, please, Brandon. So at this point in time, staff recommends the Neighborhood Advisory Commission review and approve the Neighborhood Advisory Commission 2020 annual report as presented by staff. I'll also end on this note here that if there are any additional comments by the commission that would like to be added as supplement ahead of our submittal to the city clerk's office so that city council can see this report. Staff's available to incorporate those comments at this time, but it's now a point of discussion and action for the commission. Thank you. I do see a hand raised by Commissioner Moraldi.
I would like to approve the Neighborhood Advisory Commission annual report as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moraldi.
It's Commissioner Wills. I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Wills. At this point in time, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Budwig. Commissioner Budwig.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner James.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Moraldi.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Nash.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Wills.
Yes.
Thank you. And Chair Putman.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Should we go to the next item then? Item 3 is the Neighborhood Advisory Commission Annual Bylaw Review. Adam, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Putman, members. I'm sorry, Chair Putman, members of the commission. Item 3 on tonight's agenda includes, again, an annual bylaw review. We'll be confirming receipt of public comments submitted on this agenda item and discussion and action. Next slide, please. No public comments have been received. And so at this time, if there would like to be a recommendation for the commission to review and discuss and take action to either reaffirm or amend the bylaws of the Neighborhood Advisory Commission that were included in your agenda packet. Next slide, Brandon. Thank you. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Moraldi.
I would like to make a motion to approve the Neighborhood Advisory Commission annual bylaw review as it was presented by staff. Thank you.
This is Vice Chair Nash. I would like to second.
Thank you for the first and second, Commissioner Moraldi and Vice Chair Nash. We'll do a roll call vote at this time. We'll start with Commissioner Budwig.
Yes.
Thank you. Brandon, if you would populate the other screen.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Moraldi,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Wills,
Yes.
and Chair Putman.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Our next item is the 2021 election of officers. Adam, please.
Thank you, Chair Putman, members of the commission. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Neighborhood Advisory Commission, the commission shall at its first meeting of the calendar year elect a chairperson and vice chairperson from among its appointed commissioners. With respect to the standing chair and vice chair, Chair Putman has served in her respective roles since January of 2020. In August of 2020, past Commissioner Ross Cromarty, who submitted his resignation to his commitment to the Neighborhood Advisory Commission, had a replacement to his vice chairmanship by Amanda Nash, who has since filled the unexpired term for Commissioner Cromarty's appointment. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Neighborhood Advisory Commission, commissioners may serve in the same capacity for no more than 2 consecutive terms. And so at this point in time, we'll be confirming receipt of public comments submitted on this agenda item, which there are not any. And now we'll be asking for discussion and appointment. So with this meeting being the first meeting of the Neighborhood Advisory Commission, staff recommends that the commission elect a chair and vice chair for the 2021 calendar year. If there are any commissioners that would like to throw their names out there to be considered for either chair or vice chair, would you please raise your hand so that staff may ask that you speak to your hand raised? Vice Chair Nash.
May I nominate Chair Putnam to take a second term?
Chair Putman, would you like to accept that nomination?
If there's no one else that would like to do it, I absolutely can continue in my current role as chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With respect to the vice chair, is there any consideration by commissioners to serve in that capacity? If you would, please raise your hand now so staff may call on you. I see a hand raised by Commissioner James.
I'd like to nominate Vice Chair Nash to continue in her position.
Vice Chair Nash, would you like to speak to Commissioner James's nomination?
Commissioner James, I appreciate the nomination. There are some things happening that I am afraid to take the position, partly because my term ends in the middle of the year as well. So may I nominate Commissioner James as vice chair?
Commissioner James, would you like to respond to that nomination?
Thank you for the nomination. I would be happy to do it.
Thank you very much. Was there any more discussion by the commission at this time? Please raise your hand. I do need a motion for the chair and vice chair by a commissioner and then seconded by another commissioner, and then we can do a roll call vote.
This is Commissioner Wills. I would move that we retain Rachel Putman as our chair, and we have William James as our vice chair.
Thank you. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Moraldi.
And I would second both of those nominations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Budwig.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner James.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Moraldi.
Yes.
Current standing Vice Chair Amanda Nash.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Wills.
Yes.
And thank you. And Chair Putman.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to Chair Putman and Vice Chair James for their nominations. We look forward to your leadership in the coming year. We do have some additional items that follow these administrative items that we just completed as part of the first 4 items of our agenda. The next item for tonight's agenda includes item 5, solid waste, which is alley to curbside community initiatives. We do have staff in attendance being Dave Bennett, Public Works Department Director for solid waste. Dave Bennett, we've got your PowerPoint available and you're good to go.
Thank you, Brandon, and good evening, commission members, and thank you for inviting me to speak tonight about the Public Works Alley to Curbside project. Let me see wait till Brandon gets caught up here. Thank you. The goal of tonight's presentation is to inform the commission of the reasons why the city is moving away from containerized alley collection. If you will, Brandon, move to the next slide. Tonight's talking points, I will speak to the following. Starting with the residential program, I will explain how this program is funded, the services it provides, and how rates are currently trending. If you could go to the next one. I will also discuss 2 costs that weighed heavily in our decision to move container collection out of the alleys. Next slide, please. Regarding collection equipment, I will speak to the reasons why our current trucks are having difficulty maneuvering through the alleys, and I will also speak to how our current trucks' body capacity is limiting collection efficiency. And he's already pulled up the last one. Talk to you guys about the different ways we communicated this plan out to the community. So if you will go to the next slide. First and foremost, solid waste is one of the 3 enterprise funds in the city. The others are water and airport operations. Enterprise fund, this means our revenue is generated from user fees rather than general fund or tax dollars. Each week we provide containerized trash and recycling collection to over 83,000 customers. We also provide a very popular service, brush and bulk. That's a monthly program to these customers as well. And if you could click, besides the other services listed below, we do this at the affordable price of $21.47 a month. Keep in mind, just 5 years ago, this rate was $15.96, and I will speak to that in the next slide, if you will, Brandon. Thank you. The above graph represents our rate history over the last 5 years. And as you can see, rates have climbed by almost 35% over those 5 years. My next slide will speak to the 2 costs that are impacting these rate increases. Thank you, Brandon. With regards to these 2 graphs, maintenance and repair and disposal costs have as you can see, steadily risen over the 5 years, kind of similar to what we're seeing in our rate as far as percentages. By moving to collection, we hope and we believe this will help stabilize both of these costs, which is our maintenance and repair and disposal costs. You could one more. Move on. So when you talk about maintenance and repair costs, the lifting mechanism is not as big cost as the next slide I'm going to talk to you about, but the lifting mechanism, as you can imagine, picking up a 300-gallon container is far more difficult, and it takes a bigger toll on our maintenance and repair costs than picking up a 90-gallon container. The strain to lift those causes hydraulic hoses to fail. We get cracks and metal fatigue, which leads to cracks and other failures where it leads to extended periods of downtime as well. If you could, let's move to the next one. The packer system is where we see our highest dollars spent. As you can imagine, people throw the darndest things in the 300-gallon cans, concrete, dirt, and tile. This leads to cylinders and hoses failing, and leads to even longer periods of downtime. And if you could go to the next one. And as you can imagine, you guys, I don't know if you guys ever driven your vehicles in the alleys, but imagine driving a garbage truck through the alley. So each year, several of our ASL trucks suffer major and minor damage going through these alleys. You'll see in there damaged mirrors, damaged cabs, steps, windshields, you name it, it gets damaged. If you ever have a chance to go through our yard, you can easily see which trucks go into our alleys and which trucks have had the fortunate luck to stay out of the alleys. Annually, this costs us around $50,000 just to repair this minor stuff. Moving on. With regard to disposal costs, in the early 70s is when the city started mechanized refuse collection in the alleys. The intent, and there's a typo up here I wanted to correct, was to have each 300-gallon container shared by 4 homes, not 3, as the slide says, and designed only for household trash. However, throughout the decades, at no additional cost to these customers, containers were added to curb litter and blight and for vector control. If you could keep going there. Moving to curbside collection is another way we will be able to stabilize these disposal costs. Currently, if a curbside refuse customer needs an additional container space, they can simply purchase an additional container and pay an additional monthly service fee. When an alley customer service is confronted with the same need, they simply just move to the next available container. So again, if we move to the curbside, we hope to recover those costs as well. As you can imagine, and if you can go back to the other slide, Brandon, sorry about that. And one more, I want to capture just one more if you guys don't mind. So if you go down there and back in the early 70s, this program was, and we have historical data that proves it by our LIS maps. The containers, each container was to be shared by 4 homes. And the picture at the bottom left really captures how many cans we've added in here. And again, a 90-gallon container versus how much volume can go into a 300-gallon container is substantially adding to these disposal costs. So I'll just go back to those next two slides. And when it gets to the safety one, this is probably the most important and is having the most impactful way we operate in the alleys. And that is the turning radius on our trucks. When we try to negotiate these alleys currently, it's a lot harder. And the reason is that in 2007, the EPA introduced new emission standards, and that caused the vehicle manufacturers to introduce new exhaust controls measures, and which increased larger engine bays, and which ended and resulted in widening the frame rails. And in turn, that reduces our turning radius. It's not much. When you widen them, each of those frame rails out an inch or 2 inches, it does impact our turning radius. And throughout the years, as our older trucks have been taken out of service and our newer trucks replace those, we are having a very difficult time going in the alley. So where we saw efficiencies before, being able to kind of somewhat go through those turns, maybe 1 or 2 point turns, it's now taking us 5 or 6 pull-ups and backups to maneuver through those turns. So the efficiencies that we were gaining before are now lost. If you could keep going, Brandon, thank you. And I would add, I was trying to add one more point in here. The above truck right now, the truck that we currently have is on the top. And that is a 26-yard automated side loaders. Keep in mind, we buy, all of our trucks are predicated on our alley, our 14% of our customers, which are our alley customers. And the reason we do so, we need to have the flexibility is when some of these trucks are down, other trucks can fulfill that need when they are down. Going forward, when we move out of the alleys, we're moving forward towards buying the 30-yard capacity trucks, which we've already bought 4 of them. By moving that wheelbase and spreading that weight, we'll now be able to carry, instead of 7.2 tons legally, we'll be able to carry around 8.5 tons legal weight. So just imagine, right now we pick up on average around 1,100 trash containers each day, but that's limited. That's limiting to us on traveling to the landfill and so forth. By adding that capacity, the drivers will be on the route more, and we can pick up more containers, leading to us not having to buy trucks as frequently when newer homes are built to meet that demand. So, and yeah, I think that's it on that one. Keep on going if you don't mind, Brandon. So as far as communication, this is a 4-year plan. We are doing 2,800 homes per year. If you look at the top green color, we're starting at this very southern part of the city in year 1, and kind of our goal is to reach right there to Thomas Road, and the subsequent years are reflected as well. Next one, please, Brandon. So again, regarding customer outreach, my apologies. So we used a couple different methods to communicate this out to the impacted customers. So if you were one of these here recently, one of the customers that were impacted by the change, 2 weeks in advance, we sent out a mailer, and it had quite a bit of information. It went over the background, overview of the program, the background, why we're doing it, the cost, and so forth. And then when the containers were delivered, we had outreach people attach a flyer and tape this on the container. It had the do's and don'ts of the container, where to place it, and so forth. We use social media to also communicate this out, primarily through Nextdoor. And then on the city website, we have a couple tools that can help out as well. If you don't mind, Brandon, go to the next one. So on our website, and there's the above address if you're interested in going to it. So if you wanted to know in the future if you when your alley is going to be affected, you can just type in your address, and this is what the very bottom graph reflects. So if you lived at that address, it would show all the information about your brush and bulk collection dates, recycling collection day, trash, and then finally at the bottom, it would show you your planned year and month. We can't narrow it down to a date because we're doing this internally and to save money rather than hire a company to deliver all these cans. So we're just narrowing it down to the month rather than a week or a day. And then moving on to the last slide. Lastly, we get a lot of questions. Is our brush and bulk leaving the alleys? It is not. We have no future plans to move out of the alleys. We're going to continue that service in the alleys. And lastly, commission members, the city is constantly looking for ways to keep costs down so that we can continue to deliver our service at the most reasonable rate. I hope this information I presented to you helps you understand why the city is transitioning to curbside refuse collection. And thank you. And I'm prepared to answer any of your questions right now.
Thank you, Dave, for the presentation. Again, this is Adam, your own commission liaison. Just for the attention of the commission and for the public record, we did receive one public comment from Lisa Sampson relating to this item that was provided to staff as well as the commission ahead of this meeting. If there's any questions relating to those to that public comment and/or any additional items that would like to be questions that would like to be discussed with Dave, now's the time to do so. I do see a hand raised by Commissioner Nash, followed by Commissioner Wills, please.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Nash. I have a couple questions. First off, I know that there were some recent fires in some of the garbage trucks. Will this have any ability to potentially reduce that risk in the future?
No, to be honest with you, the fires we have are, there's two types of fires that are in this industry. One is called a chassis or engine fire, and the other one's a load fire. So the fires that we have that are common are load fires. That's where people put chemicals and other items that are combustible. But to answer your question, no, this decision would have no impact on that.
Thank you for that. My second question is about the alleys. So I live in one of those communities that has this alley service, and if I weren't to go to the alley to throw away my trash, I would have no reason to be in the alley, which would mean that I would that's when I notice when my weeds are growing, is when I go into the alley. If I didn't have a reason to go into the alley, I wouldn't necessarily know that my weeds are growing and then I need to get that taken care of. What is the plan to keep alley maintenance front of mind for residents who are no longer spending time in their alley?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I'll touch on one thing. I'm not sure how to answer that, but I will tell you that we do have a 7-year alley maintenance plan. You might have already seen it. This year we're kind of following the map that we're going on right now. The streets and street maintenance crew is currently just moving the cans out of the alley, grading the alley, restoring it to its original condition, meaning drainage and so forth. But we will have a stronger presence as far as code enforcement, solid waste, to kind of go in there and let people know that, hey, the weeds are growing. But I would hope that any resident out there would, if they care about their alley, would maybe make a few more trips out in the alley just to keep the weeds under control.
And Adam, if you might be able to, this commission had to chose to provide some funding to an alley because it wasn't being used. Is that correct, or was that just canal space?
Thank you, Commissioner Nash, members of the commission. The reference that Commissioner Nash is making is, I believe, a neighborhood enhancement grant program that took place, I think it was last year or the year prior, along 70th Street. That particular area of the community to which grant funding was provided did not have trash pickup, nor did they provide bulk pickup in that section. It's if I were to be fair in the representation of that item and in context of this broader discussion, that site and that length of alley to which funding was provided is a bit of an anomaly in that it has a inverted ditch that basically carries stormwater through the area. But to perhaps assist Dave here with the commission with respect to property maintenance within the alley, Chapter 18 of the City Code isn't going away, which requires adjacent property owners still maintain public right-of-way to the center line, which would include alleys. And although the presence for weekly pickup is not going to be within the alley, bulk pickup will still be there, and citywide maintenance will still remain. Dave, is that correct?
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Or Adam, if that's you, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. So I hope that answers your question, Commissioner Nash. We do have another hand raised by Commissioner Wills, followed by Commissioner Lamb, and then Moraldi.
Yes, Commissioner Wills. So I grew up in that area, and after reading the public comment that was submitted by Ms. Sampson, I was initially, I would say I agreed and had many of the same concerns that she shared. But Dave, I thought your presentation did a great job of illustrating why the city's made this decision, and hopefully that word gets spread out, because when seeing it presented as you did, it does make perfect sense. As much as I've always enjoyed the convenience of walking out to the alley, I can certainly see the challenges that it did present to the city. So thank you for putting that out there.
You're welcome. And Commissioner, if I could I speak to one of Lisa's comments, if possible? I thought she made some really great comments. We will in the future hopefully do a better job of communicating this out to our future neighborhoods. So commissioners, I will work with our public outreach manager and our assistant in the city office to better communicate this plan in our out years, if that helps Lisa and the commission.
Thank you for that comment, Dave, and thank you for the comment, Commissioner Wills. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Lamb.
Yes, this is Commissioner Lamb. I have several questions and comments. Are the brush pickup trucks the same size as the trash pickup trucks?
Great question, Commissioner. They are not. The brush trucks are a 20-yard capacity truck, small, shorter wheelbase and shorter in length.
Okay, I'm just looking at all this. I have formerly lived in a neighborhood that had alleys, and it was disgusting. And it was always my understanding, as has stated, that cleaning the alley is a responsibility of the owner. And yet I had never heard of anyone in my former neighborhood getting any kind of notice from the city that they need to clean that up. Now, if that was cleaned up and the city enforced that, would that allow your trucks to continue to go through the alleys?
That's a great question as well, Commissioner. No, it wouldn't have an impact. As I stated before, those 4 items are the main reason. One, again, the maintenance, the wear and tear on the vehicle, the lift cylinder, the packer cylinder, as you would speak, as I would say, uncontrolled dumping, illegal dumping. And I'm losing track on the last one, but no, to answer your question, it would have no impact of if they were better kept.
Okay, well, I I appreciate your presentation. I guess another thing that enters my mind is those of us that live in common walled areas that do not have an alley and do not have a back gate have our trash containers in our garages. And let me tell you, that does smell in the summer, even though we have it wrapped. And that's entered my mind also. And I don't think there'd be a solution to that if everyone had to continue to put their trash in the alley. I guess that's just a side risk, you might say.
Commissioner, I understand the concerns, especially not right now, obviously during during the winter months, but that does become a concern in the summer months. Those are challenging where you have where there's not access to a side gate to store a container and that, but it is safe to do so as long as you're not putting anything that's in there that's combustible in the container. It is safe for you to do that.
Okay, I understand that. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you,
You're
Commissioner
welcome.
Lamb. I see another hand raised by Commissioner Nash, followed by Commissioner Budwig, and then Commissioner Wills again.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Nash. So one concern that's happening in my neighborhood are the vacation rentals are putting a lot of trash in the alley containers. They're overflowing and getting very messy. So could this have the potential of reducing that mess by requiring them have their own containers, and if they are making that much trash, having to pay for 2 containers?
Commissioner Nash, great question. Yes. As you know, household hazardous, residential trash is to be put in your in the container with a closed lid. We have several of these types of properties, the Airbnbs throughout Scottsdale, and they in the alleys that are taking advantage of the 300-gallon containers. And I have a litany of photos that show examples of how they're doing that. So going forward, yes, this will hold them accountable to pay for the services that they are in need of.
Thank you for that. When I lived in Nebraska for a very short amount of time, they had separate containers for grass. And has the city ever considered a third container for just compostable materials, basically?
Commissioner, we have looked at it, and other cities, one other city has it that's Mesa, and another city, Phoenix, is doing a pilot program. The challenges with that is having enough cans out to justify having a truck that costs around 100, 200 bucks an hour go into a neighborhood that has, say, 200 homes, and there's only a participation rate of 10, go throughout the city and collect that. It's not economically the best decision to do going forward. But we have looked at that, and we've gained knowledge from not past cities' mistakes. I know City of Mesa is trying, but that's one of the things that they did this last year is they actually suspended that service for several months because of costs and other reasons. But again, City of Phoenix is trying it, but there's definitely a downside for costs, and ultimately those costs would be passed on to the ratepayer if we were to do that.
Thank you. And my last question is, I know City of Phoenix alley residents have had some alleys where residents have actually petitioned to have their alleys shut down altogether because of activity in their alley. Is that going to be something that would be because it's changing now that you don't need to be in the alley, the city doesn't need to be in the alley as often. So would there be a way for residents to petition their alley be closed if they're having trouble with activities in their alley?
Commissioner, yes. Phoenix has explored that. Several, one of the neighborhoods, I believe it's the Sunny Slope neighborhood, petitioned the City of Phoenix to do that. They did a small pilot area, and it's available online. What the city, the council voted on is that if neighborhoods wanted to do that, they'd have to go through a permit process, but all the costs to do so, to gate those off or put a chain link fence or just a small barrier, would be at the cost of the neighborhood that's requesting to do so.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Budwig, and then followed by Chair Putman, and then Commissioner Lamb again.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. This is Commissioner Budwig. Dave,
Commissioner Budwig, I'm sorry, we're having trouble hearing you. If you could get closer to your mic.
Sure. Is that better?
Still a little light. If you could speak up, maybe.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Dave, thank you for the presentation. One question I had from the public comment, because of the space constraints from a historic home and the inability to maybe store 2 cans that came up, would it work to do a hybrid program where the smaller 90-gallon cans were in the alleyway so that the trucks, the everyday trucks, so to speak, could not have the weight of the 300-gallon and still go through the alley for maybe those areas? So thanks for the presentation. That was my comment.
You're welcome, Commissioner. No, that wouldn't work. You'd still have the same challenges. I understand that the 90s would be out there, but they would be exposed to illegal dumping. Our trucks would be exposed to the same challenges of trying to negotiate the terms, avoid the trees, the damage to the trucks. So that wouldn't be something that we would explore going in the future.
Thank you, Chair Putman, and then Commissioner Lamb.
Great, thank you. So just had a question regarding the bulk pickup remaining in the alley. If part of the problem is the navigating and the wear and tear with the trucks, I mean, from what I've gathered, I also live in a neighborhood with alley pickup, that people just, and myself included, we don't necessarily wait till the alley pickup time because we're not always sure when that is. And so that's kind of where the alleys get overloaded with those things. So is that a concern that the alleys are still going to have those bulk items sitting out there not necessarily when it's the pickup, the monthly pickup time, but just remaining out there. So I know that was kind of a question. And when I read that note from the citizen as well, just kind of a concern of why one thing would remain and just not be consistent.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. So our Public Works Executive Director Dan Worth wants us to actually look at this, what you're speaking of. So as we transition out of these alleys and the improvements are made by the streets, we are going to look at how everything's is impacted, and if there are impacts to the brush and bulk, we will pass that along and make the changes that we need to do. I don't really see too much of an impact by us moving the alley, the container side out of there. I think it'll be business as usual, but you never know. But we will monitor it to see if there's any impacts. If it's negatively impacted, then we'll act accordingly.
Thank you. And the other question, sorry, Adam, I just had one more. The other question I had kind of brought up a little bit before, and certainly a concern. Obviously in South Scottsdale, many of the homes here, we don't have garages. And Commissioner Lamb mentioned it before. And those of us that do, ours are not air conditioned. And we also have, here in South Scottsdale, a very big roof rat problem. So I'm just kind of wondering, is the city prepared for kind of how to navigate some of the issues that we're going to have to store our garbage? I store my recycling on the side of my, in my front yard and the side front yard. So I'm not sure where we'll be able to store our garbage for a week when it's 110 degrees. And I see these kind of questions, concerns, comments, and feedback coming a lot, especially through Nextdoor, as the neighborhoods start to adopt this new program.
Thank you, Commissioner. So as I stated earlier, I understand the concern. However, there are ways you can mitigate the concerns with roof rats and others by bagging and tying your garbage, keeping the lid closed, and so forth. I think this will have a positive impact on the rat situation, based on if you ever go in the alleys on a Monday and look at the trash that's in the containers over the weekend and how the lids are open, trash is strewn across the ground. I think this, by hopefully eliminating those issues, you'll reduce the roof rat presence. And if you follow those rules as far as keeping your lid closed, bagging and tying your trash, I think it'll mitigate most of your odor problems.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lamb, and then Commissioner Nash again.
This Commissioner Lamb, I'm thinking that most alleys are in areas where there's single family homes that probably have larger front yards and backyards. So if you would close off the alleys, it would be difficult for people to move all their brush pickup to the front of that street, correct?
I would imagine if the alleys were closed off in that situation, yeah, that would be very difficult to have a resident move their stuff for brush and bulk collection to the alley. So that would be a challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Nash, followed by Vice Chair James.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Nash. Do we have, I know that some HOAs have requirements about making sure that people keep their garbage cans hidden. So in the communication to address some of the resident who provided public comment, could the communication provide some potential examples of how other residents have blocked the view of their trash cans in an aesthetically pleasing fashion?
Good question, Commissioner. I think that we could, our city code requires that residents just have to keep their after collection, remove it off the curb by 9 p.m. that night of the collection day. But with regards to the public comment, I think that that's something we can work on for the future years, is seeing, looking at the neighborhood that she is, looking at the neighborhood she is in, and maybe looking at some different opportunities, doing some research and seeing, for example, what we did up in Desert Mountain. There's driveways that are 200 yards long, and they had, well, how do I bring my can all the way down there? Well, we advised them based on other neighborhoods, like the Boulders is where they would put like an L-shaped pony wall to hide that container. So whenever they left their house, they could just drive the trash or walk the trash down and put it in their the container there. So I think we could look into that question and maybe offer some advice for the future year neighborhoods.
Thank you, Commissioner James. I'm sorry, Vice Chair James.
Hello, Vice Chair James. You've made, I think, a very nice presentation that explains very clearly why making this change is a benefit to the solid waste program and to the city of Scottsdale in terms of cost and efficiency. The person making the comment presents a kind of, I don't know, other side of the coin, which has to do with the fact that the neighborhood is designated as having historical significance and is in a national register. The commenter says that the criteria for the historical status are maintained by city code enforcement, and suggests that perhaps having the cans in the front of the houses in this historical area will be a problem in terms of what the code allows. I'm wondering, is this a significant issue or not?
Excellent question, Commissioner. No, it would not be an issue. There's nothing in code that, or as I know of, or that would prevent in this neighborhood, the historic neighborhood, to store an additional refuse can out there. Keep in mind, they're already storing a recycling can. This can will just be sitting next to that, and you can actually put that can side by side, and you can block the view of the black can and still have the recycling. So I really don't see any issues with it as far as in regards to codes or any issues from the historical, is it charter? There wouldn't be any issues there because they already have a recycling can out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is Adam again. Were there any additional comments, final comments by the commission that would like to be asked now?
Are we able to get a copy of this presentation? I don't believe that it was attached to, wasn't a link on the original.
Chair Putman, that's correct. We can definitely provide that to commissioners, and I'm sure Dave is going to disseminate similar type information in their communication with local neighborhoods, so as to bring a better understanding and awareness to this program and cause. Is that fair to say, Dave?
That's correct. Yeah, well, if you could provide the commission an updated copy, just make the one change from shared cans to 4. That would be the only update. If you can't, I will. If I need to do so, I will present you that updated presentation, and I will share with Adam and Brandon any updates as far as what we're doing as far as communication out to the future planned neighborhoods.
Thank you very much. Did I see a hand raised by Commissioner Nash? I don't know if it went down or not.
I was just going to ask, this doesn't require a motion, does it? This is just
No, this
information
is
at
just
this point?
information and discussion only.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, we'll thank Dave very much for your presentation and time in answering questions. Chair Putman, will throw this back to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dave. The next item is the 2019-2020 Spirit of Scottsdale Awards Program nominations. Brandon, please.
Good evening, Chair Putman, members of the commission. Like stated, I'm here tonight to present the nominations for the 2019 and 2020 Spirit of Scottsdale Awards. So this program historically has focused on recognizing neighborhood stewardship, how a person or a place contributes to Scottsdale physically, aesthetically, or socially. It was added as a Neighborhood Advisory Commission work item in 2015, solely focusing on those residing within the McDowell Road corridor, and initially having 3 categories: residential, single family, and multifamily, non-residential commercial, and the overarching Spirit of Scottsdale individual or group award. In 2017, the boundary was revised to include all of southern Scottsdale, which would be Indian Bend Road south within the city boundary. Also, after the 2018 program, the commission saw fit to change the program to be solely the Spirit of Scottsdale Award, not to award residents per se, but to award an individual or an organization that had that Scottsdale spirit. Also in 2018, the Neighborhood Advisory Commission re-envisioned the program to include all of Scottsdale, while also narrowing the focus of what they thought the nominees should be recognized for, which are active years of service, involvement in strengthening neighborhood identity, championing community dialogue to produce constructive recommendations, solutions that address the dynamic need or needs of a specific neighborhood, and that also provide unique contributions of time, effort, skills, and or financial resources to a particular neighborhood. For the 2019 program, there were also a few other changes added. The initial work plan was adopted in February of 2019, with the nomination window opening April 8th and closing at the end of that calendar year, December 31st. The outreach for 2019 included a blurb in the Scottsdale Update e-newsletter, the May and April 2019 Scottsdale Update, various social media posts, next door postings, planning and zoning link, various city new e-newsletters. It was sent to block watch captains and neighborhood notification, to board and commission liaisons, city volunteers, etc. Also at the March 2019 NAC meeting, the commission further defined the award to be that only one category, as I stated. And in September of 2019, due to lack of nominations, the commission saw fit to extend the timeline until March 1st of 2020. At that time, the 2019 program was put on hold due to the unforeseen circumstances of COVID-19 and was originally to be deliberated on in June of 2020 at the regularly scheduled Neighborhood Advisory Commission meeting. With that, the 2019 program was essentially frozen until the September 2020 meeting, where the commission decided that these nominees would carry over and follow the 2020 program timeline and to be deliberated at this meeting to either be awarded separately or as a joint award, with the caveat of those unforeseen circumstances. As you can see on this screen, the various tweaks and refining of the program through the years and what had been done with the 2019 program outreach has paid off. Nominations for the 2019 totals doubled from 2018. And of those 28 nominations, 19 of them were for individual residents and 8 more being for an organization or business. You'll also see on there the 2020 nominations. Staff had received 17, 5 of those being for an individual and 12 being for organizations, which I'll go through after I finish going over the 2019 nominees with you all. For that abbreviated time frame, that 17 nominations is pretty consistent with averaging some of the other years past nominations. Now to dive into the 2019 nominees. You can see on the map on the screen where the 2019 nominees were located within the city limits. The yellow dots indicate individual nominees, and the orange dots being obviously those for businesses or organizations. And that little caveat on the side, for 2019, 68% of the nominations obviously went to individuals and 32% for organizations, as I had previously stated. So the 2019 individual nominees that you have also were included in your agenda packets. First being going through the individual nominees, Gerd Worsterman, who was nominated by Kathy Wills, Rebecca Fink, who was nominated by Tacker Frink, Hank Carman was nominated by Megan Lynn, and our very own Luis Lamb, who was nominated by Jessica Bruin prior to her joining the commission. Natalie Esposito, nominated by herself. Patricia Kieran, nominated by Carla Scully. Nancy Lane was nominated by Lori Schmidt. Ralph Roseborough and Ron Shoemaker were nominated by Bruce Wall. Judy Levier was nominated by Jamie Peterman. Terry Erickson was nominated by Tom Davis. Lisa Randall, nominated by Jonathan Miller. Renee Higgs was nominated by Natalie Rosenthal. And like I had stated, the further information on each nominee is within your packet as well. Chris Burkett was nominated by Carolyn Slade. Christy Lee Kinchin was nominated by Jennifer Creator. Marilyn Perkins was nominated by Becca Linning. James Barossa, nominated by Mary Barossa. Nancy A. Philippi Osher was nominated by David Osher. Warren Lewis III was nominated by Brittany Hamilton, and Todd Newton was nominated for by Carmen D. Carpenter, and those are the individual nominees for the 2019 program. The organizational nominees were the Scottsdale Bike Company, nominated by Yvonne Massman. Joyrides AZ, nominated by Tanya Sands. Scottsdale Historical Society was nominated by Cindy Eberhardt. First Christian Church was nominated by Michelle Holmes. Grace Baptist Church was nominated by Shannon Alton. Scottsdale Together Overcoming Prejudice was nominated by Lenty Sproat. The community of DC Ranch was nominated by Alexander Doomer. The Pinnacle Peak Ace Hardware, nominated by Teresa Montalvo. And finally, the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy was nominated by Wendy Anderton. So I will go through the 2020 nominees and program as well. And then after the presentation of all nominees, we will go further into, we can go back to certain slides and deliberate on what the commission sees fit to do with each year's nominees. So switching gears and now moving into the 2020 nominations, the work plan for the 2020 Spirit Awards mimicked mostly of what took place in 2019, being the one category with 2 recipients, same boundary, outreach methodology was mostly the same. The timeline we had approved in the September meeting was to go live on September 25th, and closed the 1st of 2021. Spirit webpage was updated right after that meeting and included an explanation on what was to be done with the 2020 and 2019 program. And as I stated, the outreach methods carried over with the addition of a blurb being placed in the Scottsdale Utility Mailer for October and November of 2020, as well as the Scottsdale North News and the Scottsdale Standard, both November 2020 issues. And finally, staff created a postcard publication that was made about the program and passed out at the 2020 GAIN event programs. Much like the slide that I had shown for the 2019 program, the 2020 nominations map, you see a large number residing within Southern Scottsdale, mostly the individuals, and then the organizations more spread out throughout the city. This year, the numbers were kind of reversed from 2019, where the majority were those organizations, 71%, while 29% were for individuals. So the 2020 individual nominees are Rad Massanelli, nominated by Angie Massanelli, Dana Close, nominated by Leanne Witt, Lisa Randall, nominated by Erica Featherston. Lisa is also a repeat nominee from 2019. Sherry Poncet, nominated by Jay Gersick, and the Bronze Cowboy, Keith Stamets, nominated by Ellen Belly, and Sherry Poncet, yes, was nominated by Jay. For the organizations, they are Cherry on Top, Frozen Yogurt, Nancy Osher. Nancy was an individual nominee in 2019, but here is shown to be her business, nominated by David Osher, her husband. Desperado Trail Scouts were nominated by Troy Gillenwater. DC Ranch, also a repeat nominee from 2019, was nominated by Alexandra Doomer. Paula Jacqueline, Cakes and Pastries, was nominated by Cinda Heron. Coronado Foundation for the Future was nominated by Dwayne Sheldon. Parada del Sol Committee was nominated by Rachel Spentana. Again, Scottsdale Historical Museum, another repeat from 2019, was nominated by Stuart Handley. Sienna Art Portraiture, Bob and Connie Zimmerlich, was nominated by Heather Morgan. Scottsdale Community Partners was nominated by RJ Waters. And another repeat nominee from 2019, Pinnacle Peak Ace Hardware, nominated by Teresa Montalvo. The Scottsdale Elk Lodge, number 2147, was nominated by Tom Hughes. And finally, the Mountain Vista Little League was nominated by Howard Bergman. Now that all the nominees from both years have been presented to the commission, staff is now asking that the commission deliberate and determine the following. Like I had stated, in September 2020, the commissioners had shown the desire to potentially combine the 2019 and 2020 award into one award, dependent on nomination results, numbers. If that is indeed the case, after deliberation, the commission may award one individual and one organization to span both of those years. Or if that is not the case, then staff is asking that the commission deliberate and award one individual and one organization for both the 2019 and 2020 award cycles. And then finally, staff is requesting that the commission nominate two representatives to present the award recipients prior to the March 2nd, 2021 City Council meeting that's already been scheduled. Winners and nominators will also be notified via email prior to the date and asked to either attend virtually, or if we get further information from City Clerk's office on how further meetings will be run, we will act accordingly. So with that, I will open it up to discussion by the commission, and free to answer any questions that you may have.
I see a hand raised by Commissioner Wills, followed by Commissioner Moralny.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Wills. Based on just the amount of, I think quite honestly, awesome nominees that we have in this, I don't see any reason why we should combine them. I mean, initially, I think our concern was we wouldn't have enough, but it's clearly we have plenty that I think we could keep the years separate. That's just my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moralny.
I agree with that statement. I think we have so many, and I just wanted to commend Brandon for doing such a great job in publicizing the event and getting us so many great candidates. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Commissioner Maraldi.
Thank you, commissioners, for the comment. At this point in time, if there was a desire to pursue selecting award winners for up to two members from the, to deliberate on the Spirit Award winners for 19 and 20, we would do that now. And then that would be the first action. The second action would be to nominate up to two members from the commission to represent and speak on behalf of the full commission with regard to the program presentation to City Council in March and award those recipients. So commissioners, go ahead and deliberate.
I'm happy to go back to the 2019 slides if need be.
Hi, this is Chair Patman. Just to know, I think we should remove Chris Burkett because he won already. So he's the house that does, the really great, Christmas and Halloween decorations, and he won a couple years ago. So I think we should remove him since he's already been a part of that.
See hand raised by Commissioner Maraldi, followed by Commissioner James.
Yeah, I agree with that. Chris did win previously. I'd like to suggest that as a group nominee for 2019, I really think the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy, with its 650 volunteers, would be a great candidate. That group not only affects the people in Scottsdale, but also visitors from all over the world that come here rather to visit that area. Thank you.
See hand raised by Commissioner Nash.
Thank you. Chair Putnam or maybe Adam, do either, when I was reading the First Christian Church nomination, is that a repeat from 2018 or is it just similar to something we saw in 2018? Do either of you recall?
Commissioner Nash, I'm going to lean on Brandon to answer that. Brandon, do you recall?
Yes, Commissioner Nash. First Christian Church was also nominated in 2018 as well. Not awarded, yes.
So I would like to, they're the ones that I would like to nominate.
Okay, so just to recap, commissioners, we have a suggestion to nominate First Christian Church and the Conservancy have been brought forward so far.
I'd like to recognize a hand raised by Commissioner James and then Budwig.
I have to say I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this. There's a lot of information that's presented about these nominations on the document that was attached to the minutes. I think there are lots of people who would possibly be good candidates. I'm not sure how we go about separating this out. As I say, I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'd be interested in suggestions.
Commissioner James, I'm sorry, Vice Chair James, members of the commission. Brandon, could you pull up the criteria again to which the Spirit Awards are predicated on and perhaps consider those criteria in how a selection is made for the purposes of transparency? We've got nominations that will consider those individuals or organizations that have active years of service, involvement in strengthening neighborhood identity, champions of community dialogue to produce constructive recommendations, solutions that address the dynamic needs of a neighborhood, as well as providing unique contributions of the time, effort, skills, and or financial resources to a neighborhood. Those items were included in your agenda packets, as well as the presentation for this item. I guess if you'd consider that as part of your deliberation. I do see a hand raised by Commissioner Budwig.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. There is a lot of information, and my question maybe to the commission is, does everyone feel they had enough time to review it? Are we ready to make the decision today, or should we be moving it to the next meeting to give everyone enough time? That would be my question on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Budwig. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Lamb.
Okay, I agree. It's a little overwhelming, and we do have time if we could consider this at our next meeting, correct? Go ahead.
Commissioner Lamb, there might be some nuance to timing with mayor and council in terms of presentations for an early March meeting, in that we may have to get presentation materials to the clerk ahead of our next scheduled meeting, which would take place on February 24th, which is less than 10 days ahead of that council meeting. So they could push back the council meeting, and then as you consider the impact of the timing issue associated with that, it becomes more and more difficult to get items like this, as much as we want to try and celebrate them. But in terms of now having a new council, that we're typically running into budget discussions by council during March and April timeframes.
Okay, thank you.
I see a hand raised by Commissioner Nash. And then followed by Commissioner Wills.
Thank you. Having read through all of the nominees, the reason this one stuck out to me was they've been doing the Operation Fix It work for 10 years, and they were able to provide, in their description, it says annually the group contributes 180 service hours at a cost saving to the city of $4,578. So their nomination is very specific about how they are helping neighborhoods, and that's the criteria are very specific to neighborhoods. And that's why I felt like their nomination sort of popped out compared to a lot of the other nominations. Said very nice things, but didn't necessarily apply specifically to neighborhoods.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Commissioner Wells.
I was just going to say, I don't see a reason to push this out. I mean, we received this information 8 days ago. I think there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to take care of this evening.
Thank you for the comment, Commissioner Wells. We'll leave that to the discussion amongst the commission members. I saw a hand raised by Vice Chair James just a moment ago. I don't know if you had something else you wanted to add.
No, I agree that the First Christian Church group seems to have done a great deal towards helping neighborhoods and towards helping a program that that this commission has been helping, the Operation Fix It.
Thank you, Chair Putman.
I also just wanted to add, I really support the nomination for the First Christian Church, just based on, the information that was received. And on that note, and I'm just sticking with 2019 for now. I think it's important we just, make sure we separate the years. I also wanted to nominate for an individual nominee, Nancy Lane. I feel like when I read through her information supporting the Scottsdale Fire Program, it's something just also very specific and creating new programs within that. I really kind of just enjoyed what was submitted for her. So I just wanted to make note of that as well for the individual nominee for 2019.
Thank you very much. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Moraldi, followed by Budwig, and then Commissioner Lamb.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy has 650 volunteers, and the nomination mentioned that they have contributed 64,500 hours to the city and saved us $1.5 million. And that's why I felt that they should be nominated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moraldi. Commissioner Budwig?
Yeah, thanks. I just want to add that I also would move forward with First Christian Church as the organization for 2019. I like what they're giving back, and then also their bio just stood out. So
Thank you for the comment, Commissioner Budwig. Vice Chair James, followed by Commissioner Lamb.
For 2019, Marilyn Perkins, who has been taking the ambassador for city role before the city took that, even before the city took that over, and continues in that role longer than any other, or gives more hours, I'm sorry, than any other ambassador. Frequent volunteer to things. Seems like she's put in a good deal of effort for the city.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lamb?
I would also recommend Marilyn Perkins. I have worked with her and she is just so dedicated, and I would very much like to go with her.
Thank you for the comment, Commissioner Lamb. I do still see some hand raised. I'll call on Chair Putman, and then if you would just do a check of your hands, if you would.
My apologies, I did not lower my hand.
Oh, no problem. Vice Chair James, did you still have an item?
No.
Okay. Thank you. So if I can help in the deliberation, we did have a series of nominations made by commissioners this evening relating to the 2019 nominations. With regard to the group nominations, the two nominations that stood out were the McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy as well as the First Christian Church. McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy was brought forward first. So what I'd like to do is ask for your hands raised if you support awarding McDowell-Sonoran Conservancy for the 2019 year. First, please raise your hand. Leave your hands up, please. I'd like to note we do have Commissioner Wills, Moraldi, and Lamb with hands up. If you could put your hands down now, please. Could I ask for hands to be raised for First Christian Church and their nomination? Please raise your hand. Okay, I'd like to note Vice Chair James, Commissioner Budwig, Commissioner Nash, and Chair Putman with their hands raised for a count of 4. So we have a group consensus for First Christian Church as the group award winner for 2019. With respect to now the individual nominations, if you could please put your hands down, please. The two names that were brought forward by discussion this evening of the commission included Nancy, I believe it was Lane. Could I ask for hand to support that nomination? Please raise your hand now for Nancy Lane. Okay, I just want to note we just have Chair Putman with her hand raised for Nancy Lane. The other nomination made this evening was for Marilyn Perkins. Could you please raise your hand now for nominating in awarding Marilyn Perkins, please raise your hand now. Okay, I'd like to note we have Commissioner Budwig, Wills, Lamb, and Moraldi, as well as Commissioner Nash with their hand raised. Vice Chair James, did you raise your hand in any of those nominations?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my hand here.
Oh, no problem. If you want to just verbally tell us.
Marilyn Perkins.
Okay, perfect. So we have 6 for Marilyn Perkins and 1 for Nancy Lane. That would provide an award to Marilyn Perkins by way of consensus of the commission. And we'll take a final action on this at the end of tonight's agenda item. But that completes deliberations for 2019. Was there any discussion for nominations for either group or individuals by the commission for 2020 that would like to be heard now? Please raise your hand. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Lamb, followed by Chair Putman.
Dana Close.
Thank
Can
you.
hear me?
Commissioner Lamb, thank you. That was Dana Close for the individual.
Yes, she has just spent so much time and effort and concern with city and situations, neighborhoods, and I really would like to see her get this award.
Thank you very much. Chair Putman, followed by Commissioner Budwig.
Thank you. I wanted to just share what Sherry Poinsett. So she, I've never seen a name more frequent in the Nextdoor app about someone bringing, you know, especially in this pandemic, toilet paper, meals, dropping things off, you know, whenever someone, oh, you know, I'm out of work, can I, you know, pull wheat? Like I see her name all the time, and I can't wait for this pandemic to be over and hug her. You know, I've had a tough year, as some of you know, myself, and she's offered to, she doesn't even know me, run errands for me and do whatever I needed. So, you know, she just is just such a beacon of light for the, you know, South Scottsdale neighborhoods, and is so helpful to people. And she's pretty incredible. So I was really glad to see her name listed here.
Thank you for the comment. Could I ask Commissioner Budwig?
Yes, thanks, Adam. For the individual, I'd like to propose the Bronze Cowboy. I think it's pretty amazing that this guy dresses up and comes into Old Town, and you know, this recommends we go to Google, see his videos. I went. He's had over 10 million views, and it's all in downtown Scottsdale. So, and people love it. So I think for him to get the Spirit Award would be pretty remarkable. And then the Parada del Sol Parade Committee. I think what the joy that brings, you know, to the community, and the fact they're continuing the work, I think is pretty strong there too. So those are my 2.
Thank you for the comment. Could I ask for Commissioner Wills, followed by Commissioner Moraldi?
This is Commissioner Wills. I'm another huge proponent for Dana Close. She is the most hands-on, get involved at the neighborhood level person that I know. Everything from the JAG program, the Jobs After Graduation program at Coronado High School, to home tours, to adopting roads. She serves on the board of Keep Scottsdale Beautiful. She is involved with Scottsdale leadership. There's not a part of the city that she doesn't get her hands dirty and really try to help to improve. So I can't say enough good things about Dana. So I hope that you guys will consider her. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wills. Commissioner Moraldi, followed by Vice Chair James.
Well, I do like the Bronze Cowboy very much, but in reading over the materials about each nominee, Sherry Poinsett really stood out for the year 2020 with so many people in need. It seems like she's done so much just to help everybody and anybody who needed the help. So I'm going to go with Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair James.
I'm also going with Dana Close, who seems to be in the midst of lots of things in South Scottsdale and promoting South Scottsdale as a community.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Was there any additional comments or nominations by the commission? I'd like to note just the following individuals that we heard in terms of nominations included Dana Close, Sherry Poinsett, the Bronze Cowboy, and then in terms of the group, or organization nominee was the Parada del Sol Committee. I think that was the sole, no pun intended, the sole nomination. Was there others that I missed? Chair Putman?
Yes, I just wanted to also nominate for the group, the Scottsdale Community Partners, and going to the website and reading about what they do. It seems like they've really stepped up. I know, again, with the pandemic and just working with different people in the community that need it and providing food and different assistance, they've really stepped up, and I've heard their name a lot. And so would like to just nominate them.
Thank you, Chair Putman. I still see a hand raised by Vice Chair James.
For organization, the Desperados Trail Scouts, which includes over 100 people and apparently maintains trails and leads bike trips and hikes in the area.
Thank you for the nomination, Vice Chair James. So with respect to the organization nominations that we just heard, unless there's any additional hands that would like to be raised now, the three that I heard were Parada del Sol, Scottsdale Community Partners, and Desperado Trail Scouts. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll go through a nomination, a final vote for the individuals nominated. For those that would like to support Dana Close in awarding the individual award for 2020, please raise your hand now. I'd like to just recognize we have hands raised by Commissioner Nash, Wills, Lamb, and Vice Chair James, which is 4 in total. That would provide consensus. So we do have an award now for Dana Close. There's no reason to provide additional voting for Sherry Poinsett. However, I really should consider the vote anyway. So I apologize for misspeaking there. Sherry Poinsett, if you'd like to nominate Sherry Poinsett, please raise your hand now. I see hands raised by Commissioner Moraldi, Chair Putman, and Commissioner Budwig for 3. We do have votes now for individuals casted by all commissioners for the individual nomination, and we do have an award for Dana Close for the 2020 calendar year. With respect to the organizational nominations, we'll take as they were nominated. Parada del Sol first. If you'd like to cast your vote for Parada del Sol, please raise your hand now. With hands raised, we have Commissioner Wills, Budwig, Nash, Lamb, and Moraldi with hands raised for Parada del Sol. And if I could see hands raised for Scottsdale Community Partners, please raise your hand now. Commissioner Wills, I still see a hand raised, and I think you had your hand raised for Parada del Sol. Okay, it looks like it just went off. Hands raised for Scottsdale Community Partners include Vice Chair James and Chair Putman for 2. Finally, well, it looks like we have all cast votes for those 2 items, but for the sake of asking for a vote call for Desperado Trail Scouts, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we do have awards, an award available now based on the votes casted for Prada del Sol for the 2020 nomination year. Brandon, if I could, what I'll do is I'll ask for, based on the cast of votes that were selected, I do need a motion so that we can move on from this item for the 2019 individual nominations casted were First Christian Church, and for 2020 was Prada del Sol, and that is for the organization. For the individuals, for 2019 was Marilyn Perkins, and for 2020 was Dana Close. Could I ask for a nomination? A motion to approve those nominations and create an award in March of 2021. See a hand raised by Commissioner Nash.
So moved.
Thank you. If there would be a commissioner that would like to second, please raise your hand. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Budwig.
Yeah, I second that.
Thank you. At this point in time, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Budwig.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair James.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Moraldi.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Putman.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wills.
Yes.
So with respect to that first portion of that item, which was creating the award winners, the second item, Brandon, if you can go back, thank you so much, was to ask for nominations of up to 2 members of the commission to represent and speak on behalf of the full commission with regard to this program and presenting it to City Council on March 2nd of 2021, as well as awarding program recipients, which we know, given the current state of affairs with the pandemic, may be a little bit different than when we last awarded such based on, again, the pandemic. And so we'll keep you attuned to how that gets realized in March at that council meeting. But if there would be up to 2 nominations, if commissioners would like to throw themselves out there to do so, please do so. If you could raise your hand if you're interested in presenting at that meeting, please raise your hand. Chair Putman, I see a hand raised. And Commissioner Wills. Could I ask for a nomination for Chair Putman and Commissioner Wills to represent the commission at the March 2nd, 2021 City Council meeting? See a hand raised by Vice Chair James.
So nominated.
Thank you. Could I ask for a second, please? See a hand raised by Commissioner Moraldi.
I second the nomination.
Thank you. And we'll just do a roll call vote for that item as well. We'll start with Commissioner Budwig.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nash.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Vice Chair James.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Wills.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb.
Yes.
Brandon, did I miss anyone there? And Chair Putman, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. And we will have information going out to those that were awarded, as well as information for those Chair Putman and Commissioner Wills prior to the September 2nd meeting, how to attend, because they will be presented prior to the actual meeting. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Putman. I see a hand raised.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Brandon, if you could advance back to the next item for tonight's agenda, which includes identification of future agenda items. This is an opportunity for commissioners to bring up items that they'd like to see on a future agenda item. We cannot discuss those items. However, I would like to note, just for the sake of tonight's meeting, our last meeting, there was a request by Commissioner Moraldi to agendize discussion about specifically the neighborhood enhancement grant funding. And that will be brought forward likely in a March meeting. We do have a sole agenda item that we'd like to discuss with everybody relating to the general plan update in February, but just wanted to ask if there was any additional items that the commission would like to be brought forward. Please raise your hand now. Seeing no hands raised, we'll move on to staff updates. Staff updates include, as I stated, at our next scheduled meeting of the commission, we will be discussing the general plan update process as part of this last year's work plan of the commission. If you recall, we asked for a nomination by the commission to have a representation on the Citizen Review Committee, charged with reviewing and drafting the draft general plan that's supposed to go, that is currently in process with public outreach, and will go before City Council later in second quarter of 2021 for consideration of adoption. We do have a series of work study sessions with them set as recent as coming as February 9th. But this is significant in terms of providing and getting final outreach comments from each respective board and commission that has general plan related content. So that'll be scheduled for our next meeting in February, at which point I will not be here for that commission liaison for that meeting. I'll be running a parallel planning commission meeting that evening, presenting a general plan to that meeting. But Taylor Reynolds on staff here with long range planning will be the commission liaison for that meeting. And he was present at all the general plan outreach meetings, citizen review committee meetings, that is. And so he'll be able to speak to the process, and as well as Commissioner Moraldi, who participated so graciously in her time to that process as well. And so that includes staff updates. And I'd like to ask for a call for adjournment at this time. See a hand raised by Commissioner Nash.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Could I ask for a second? Thank you. I see a hand raised by Commissioner Moraldi.
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. It is 6:43. That concludes our meeting this evening. Thank you all for your time, and we'll see you next month.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.